Twitch streamer Pokimane has just hinted that she wants to have children imminently soon. So if any of you would like to be Pokimane's baby daddy, applications are officially open. She is looking for one. And I say that because it's like women these days want to have children, but they don't want to have a husband to have them with, you know? It's like celebrated to have babies with boyfriends or friends even, or polycules. It can never be done in a family unit. You notice that the Kardashians were kind of the first like to pioneer this being the just normal expectation. But I think it's weird when people talk about kids like this. Here's Pokimane's tweet. Kind of want another cat or a dog or a kid. And then it's the thinking emoji where you're like stroking your beard.
Feels like those should be considered at different weights, but. So
you view a kid on the same level as a cat or a dog. Like, I'm trying not to read into this too much, but like, you know how influencers treat their kids like accessories and like photo props and also like adults, like employees who have to be part of the influencing empire. When an influencer even hints that they want to have kids, I'm immediately thinking of the worst case scenario because it just kind of ends up like that way more often than not. Or maybe it's just me paying attention to the worst case scenario and not the ones who are protected. But
I'm really, I lack a lot. Like, for the most part, I look very, very wearily upon most influencers and things like that when it comes to any type of family content. There's a couple that I follow that are like pretty transparent about like their kids saying like they're allowed, like if they don't want to be in stuff, they don't have to be in anything. One of the kids is in it more than the other ones because one of them kids would prefer to be more private than the other would. So as long as they're upfront about it, even then I'm still like, we have no idea whether this is accurate or not because what we hear and see from them is also very different from what goes on behind the scenes. So you should take all of it with an enormous grain of salt.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I said baby daddy applications are open is because now Pokimane simps are volunteering as tribute to help Pokimane achieve her goal of motherhood. And it's still something that she wants to pursue. As she claimed in an interview in March 2024, "I've been talking about babies," she admitted. "You know what's crazy? I dreamt about having a kid last night again. But interestingly enough, I know my baby fever isn't as bad as it could be because I'm dreaming about someone in close proximity of me having a kid, like a family member. And I'm just so excited to take care of them. I know I kind of want a baby, but I don't want a baby. Like, I want a baby." So I don't know if she is really able to decide what she wants. But this was in an interview she was doing with, I think, QT Cinderella. She asked what her timeline is for possibly having children. And she answered that she could see herself starting a family in her early to mid 30s. Although she's uncertain if she should get a surrogate, adopt, or, quote, just pump one out.
There's just such a lack of ceremony and actual like connection behind the whole process now. You know what I mean?
What is this? This is not... look, okay. By the way, for context, Pokimane is 27. Okay, so she's talking about that she plans to have kids within the next, half of a decade. At 27, like, this is actually the most appropriate time of any time to be thinking about starting a family. And more importantly, the first thing that happens before you do that, ideally, is you get married. But it's like the idea of getting a husband before having a kid is totally alien to her. Like, it never even occurred to her that you would need a father.
That's because society has divorced these concepts.
It's insane. Yeah. I mean, where do you think babies come from? These people are like children who never had the talk with their parents. They never had the birds and the bees talk.
Stork just dropped it off on the...
You just pump them out. What do you mean?
It's not like we just hug each other. Or it's not like a stork, right? Like, just drops a baby off on your porch, like, you need a mother and a father.
See, that's the problem. That
have
part of it
agreed
doesn't
upon
line up to her because
raising
it's
the
not
child.
necessary.
And they
All
need
that
to
is an
stay
obstacle.
together.
Yes.
Right. But no, it's just you're treating a kid like it's an accessory that you can buy, or it's like a car, and you get on a payment plan, and it's all very bureaucratic. It's all very by the books, and there's nothing personal about it. There's nothing spiritual about it. It's not really all that important. It's just, something that you decide will make your life better. And it seems there's just no concern for the fact that this is another human being you're bringing into the world who deserves two parents. And not just two parents, a mother and a father.
Do you remember the influencer couple that like adopted a kid and then gave it back?
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
I do remember that. You know what they should have done is not publicize the fact that they were adopting in the first place.
Well, that's the whole point.
For clout.
The whole point is that it was for clout,
Yeah.
which means that they didn't actually want to adopt the child for actual reasons. They wanted to do it because the internet is a drug and social media clout is like heroin to a lot of people.
I mean, I think that it was complicated because I've heard other situations where like people adopt thinking that it's just going to be like so perfect, and they don't know that sometimes it doesn't go well, especially if the child is older.
I think the child had like
disabilities.
Yeah, disability.
And which they knew beforehand. But like I think that a lot of kids like get adopted and they're from a troubled home, and then people just think like, oh, they're gonna be grateful that we
Right.
adopted them, and it's like that's not how that works. Okay. But it's just, as you can see, it's like a very selfish mentality that they have, celebrities and influencers alike, that you're just talking about a kid like it's a cat, a dog, or a purse, or a house.
What did you think of the Dakota Johnson? I'm sorry, the Dakota Fanning.
Yeah. So Dakota Fanning.
Dakota Johnson would have a very boring child. Dakota Fanning, not so much.
Dakota Fanning recently said having kids is more important to her than being an actor. Quote, always felt that pull. She shared that if offered a choice between her career and starting a family, she would choose the latter. So here's her quote from a recent interview. And by the way, she is 30. She explained that she's set up her career. She's made sure to leave herself with the option to start a family. Quote, being an actor is a huge part of my identity. I don't really know who I am without it. But I also have a desire to set up my life and career so that I always have a choice. Having kids is probably more important to me than anything, even being an actor. If somebody said I had to choose, I would choose having kids. I'm one of those people who always felt that pull. One of those people. It's not like it's just 99% of people out there that, want to continue the human race. It just makes you kind of a weirdo. It's kind of quirky if you want.
In Hollywood, it does.
to have
Well, no, I
kids.
think here's the thing though. I think thank you. I think that you're influenced by what surrounds you, and what
Thank you,
surrounds
guys.
you are people that aren't necessarily pulled to having children. She more so than a lot of other actors, because like the actors working on TV, there are lots of actors who have been on television who have been married for 20 years, have kids, perfectly fine. It's a living. It's just a little bit abnormal from how the average person gets by. But movie stars, you're more likely to see the people who, they don't have the time or the inclination. They're on set 6 months out of the year. They don't have the ability to do this, or they don't want to make the concessions that come with having kids. She comes from a movie background, which would be more likely that she would feel like that. So it probably does feel weird to her to have that pull.
Yeah, and
Like,
she's obviously
Chris
in a weird
O'Donnell.
culture.
Chris O'Donnell quit, like when he stopped making movies, he went to television because he said, look, I got kids. I want to be able to raise my kids and see my kids at night. So I'm going to go back to LA and do a television show that will allow me to live here, work here, and be home at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just the Hollywood elite lifestyle is not conducive to family life, obviously. And that's let alone their abhorrent ideas toward families and I'm
not kidding you when I say if you go watch a random episode of a television show and you find a middle-aged actor that's on that show, you will see that a lot of them have been married for a long time, have plenty of kids. Like, that's not an uncommon thing because television tends to be more of a blue-collar work environment rather than movies, which is just very different.
I recently saw this tweet discussing films said, We Live in Time, a love story film starring Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, will release in fall 2024, described as the portrait of a marriage and what it means to create a family. And obviously, like, my immediate reaction was, oh, great.
A bad portrait.
So it's going to be a portrait of how awful it is to be married.
Which is actually
how
sad.
Meaningless it is to create a family, right?
When you think of, like, Hollywood and the infrastructure that they've built and their ability to tell stories when they actually want to, there could be great stories to be told if they would actually allow them, but they just rarely do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, you know, same theme here in the Dakota Fanning interview. No talk of how a male would actually be required to create a kid.
They don't believe it's necessary.
They cannot wait for you know, like what are they like surrogate wombs, like the artificial wombs. They want artificial wombs, and there are like researchers looking into like how to create a viable human embryo using nothing but an egg and stem cells from a man instead of sperm. So they basically want to make men obsolete so that we can, like, you know, kill them all and live in a feminist utopia and, you know, expect the trains to still run on time and all of that stuff and have running water and all of those nice things.
Well, that's the thing. They would have
men have provided
they
for
would have
us.
to wait for the robots who can do the, like, it's so every day I drive into work right now, there's road construction going on, like on the road as I'm leaving Brunswick. And I just see the cars and I'm just like, the women, they drive right by it, right? They don't realize that you need those guys there to do that job. There has to be humans to do that. You're the guys who take out your garbage, the guys who
Right. I just imagine like 1 week into the matriarchal like utopia.
We're all just
someone's car breaks
catfighting.
down and we're like, wait, what do we do? Who do we call?
What is it like? Why is the side of my car peeling off because I don't know where to put the jack when I try to jack my car?
Why are all our rims scratched?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what would happen. And I mean, there's also the really baited street interviews where like are men necessary in society? And the drunk woman is like,
I don't need that in my life.
It's like, I don't need no man. And then the guy,
I don't need a man.
and of course the guy's got to be sober. He's like, well, what about the plumbers and what about the electric? And they're like, I don't
Like both of these, I hate both of these people. Like the autistic street interviewer who's asking about plumbers,
right after he got done asking about like what's your body count,
or rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Like
that stuff's
Bro,
hilarious.
okay.
They're all like the chick who's like the size of the camera frame, so, like labels herself a 10, and the guy's literally falling out of the frame. Like, how drunk was she? Like.
really?
Well, it
Very,
takes a lot, but yeah,
extremely drunk, obviously. But yeah, I guess if any of you are interested in being Pokimane's Twitch husband,
you too can apply.
You too can apply.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.